Let's try this again. I don't know what happened to the internet. I have no idea. I have no idea what happened. I do know that we had a full house, and I am so sad that I lost all 100 of you. That makes my heart hurt. Like, please come back. Oh my gosh. I really, really hope that we don't lose connection again. I am so sorry, you guys. I don't know what is up with that. I am back, Tony. Tony, I've got your package sitting right here. I got your package. It is going out first thing tomorrow morning. We are back. Hi, I'm back. You can't get rid of me that easily. That's what I get for starting early, right? If I had just saved those 3 minutes... I just had those 3 minutes. I can get those 3 minutes back. You took screenshots of my facial expressions. Oh my gosh, you looked silly as we all got frozen. I see the most crazy screenshots of myself when I go to upload, and I'm just like, how do these people look at me? How can these people stand and look at that face? Oh. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're so sweet. Donna, I'll give you a hug. I think it's a fun trip. I don't know how fun it is, but yeah. All right, so we're back. We're back. All right, people are coming on the back end. Okay, so let's try to start where we left off. We were talking about the Conetastic, how I got my Conetastic a long time ago when they very first came out. We've done a couple of projects with the Conetastic. However, since we have some new people, welcome into the new people. I hope they come back, right? And I want them to see this because this is such a versatile tool that you can use for so many different things. And it can also be a frustrating tool because there are some people out there. In fact, I just got a message from a friend of mine who was like, I need you to start to finish with this tool because she has a hard time working with it. So I'm more than happy to oblige, right? But the cones that you can make, I'm going to take the end off so that I don't like accidentally stab myself. But we, you're throwing paper everywhere. Please. You guys crack me up. So anyway, the Conetastic makes cones in 3 different sizes. Okay, this is the handle, and inside is where your cones are going to fit. So there are the mandrels, essentially that's what they are, and they all fit in here so that you can keep them all secure, so you don't lose them, which is pretty handy if you ask me, because I lose all kinds of things. It also comes with the little Allen key so that you can connect and disconnect, so you can change out your mandrels for your tool. I'm going to show you what it does. I found this, Angela. Angela's like, what is a Conetastic? I'm going to show you. It makes cones out of wire. And why would you want to make cones out of wire? Well, part of the reason that you would want to is because let's say you don't have any bead caps on hand, or let's say you don't have a necklace end or a necklace cone, or you do, but you just don't like any of them. A cone is a really great way to kind of hide the ugly. You guys have heard me say that before, where you know, at the end of a piece, particularly with multi-strand designs and things like that, where you've got some ugly that you want to hide. And that's usually like your connection points, right? Particularly with a multi-strand design, if you've got 3 or 4 strands of something and they're all, you know, they're all bundled up together and it just kind of looks like a mess, right? It looks like a train wreck. A cone is a perfect way to cover all of that up, and it's still pretty and keeps everything together. The cones can be used for just decorative accents. You can use them as tassel toppers. You can use them, you know, for multi-strand designs. You can use them for single-strand designs, which is what we're going to do today. And we're also going to use them in just kind of a decorative way with our earrings, and we're going to get kind of funky with ours, which I think is fun because it's cool to play, you know, outside of the box when it comes to the Conetastic. You can also use these to create end caps for kumihimo. I don't know if any of you out there do kumihimo. I'm sure that there are probably some of you that do. I don't ever talk about it. It is something that I can do. I'm just not super proficient at it, so we don't ever do it as a project. But you absolutely have to have some sort of end piece, right, for your Conetastic. I'm sorry, for your kumihimo piece, and this will, you know, helped you kind of personalize it instead of using just like a big cord end. So There you go. Kendall says she has a tool problem. I too have a tool problem. And I am an enabler. We have all decided that I am totally an enabler. So yeah, we've got some Kumihimo makers out there. That's awesome. You guys, I love the way Kumihimo looks. I am so impatient. I know how to do it. It's just, I get very, very impatient with it. But yeah, you guys, this will make you some ends for your Kumihimo. That was the worst grammar ever. All right, so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to put together a really easy necklace, but before we do any of that, we're going to make some cones. I'm going to show you how to make the cones, and I'm going to show you what's good about them, what's bad about them, and then some of the other alternatives to creating the cones, okay? So enough chit chat. Let's get down to business, shall we? All right, so Fern says she's collected so many tools she doesn't know if she'll be able to use them all. That's the way I am. Same. That's me too. All right, I want to put you guys down just a little bit, okay? And let's talk about the Conetastic, and let's talk about what you can do with a Conetastic. Okay, so like I said, it will come with a green handle. Mine just doesn't, okay? The end unscrews, and all of your cones, it comes with 3 cone mandrels. So you've got a large, a medium, and a small, and your Allen key. All of this will fit down inside there. Every single bit of it, which is so handy because you don't have to go looking for all of it. You can just grab your tool and you're ready to go, right? So that's how you're going to store everything. Let's talk about attaching everything. So on the front of your tool, you have your little space here where you can put your Allen key, your Allen wrench to tighten up when you go to put your mandrel. Your mandrels fit in the top, okay? Every single one of them will fit in the top. Let me show you what they look like. So it has a hole through it, and it also has a flat surface, which is kind of hard to see. But you can see part of that has a flat, you know, it's been smoothed down to make a flat surface. That flat edge, you need that edge to face you when you are inserting your cone into the top of the tool, okay? And so you're going to slide that down with that flat surface facing you. I tightened mine up too much. Now my cone won't fit in there. So you got to undo to make sure you've got room for your cone to go in. Okay, so you're going to slide that on there, and then you're going to tighten it back up, right? And after you tighten it up, now it's not going to go anywhere, right? But the taking off and changing is super, super easy to do. Okay, so if I want to get rid of the small one, I'm just going to undo, and I'm going to slide on the medium one. Again, you want that flat surface to be facing where you attach or where you tighten, okay? And now it's nice and tight. It shouldn't wiggle on you at all, okay? It should be nice and secure. If it wiggles, you need to tighten it up because you're gonna be really frustrated trying to work with it if it's wiggling back and forth, okay? So this is just the basic, and honestly you guys, this tool, you can buy different attachments for this. You can get some mandrels that are inverted, so the point is actually down here and they get wider at the top. There are some tips that you can attach to it to make hourglass shapes as well as bead caps. So there are accessories that come with the tool, but I really just stick with the basics. I've never played around a whole lot with the other things because the 3 cones that I have here really kind of serve all of my needs. So for today's project, what we're going to do is we are going to use the small and the medium, okay? And I'm going to show you cones on all 3 of them because I don't want there to be any surprises for those of you who are just now getting a Conetastic and you get it and you're like, what the heck? So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make our small cone for our project. You're going to need 2 of these. Then I'm going to go ahead and make some medium cones just to show you and the large cones just to show you. And there's a reason why I say that, okay? There's a reason why it's important for you to see all 3 of those. So just so that you can see though, this is what the smallest mandrel, this is the cones that it'll make. Okay, so they're pretty small. They make really good necklace ends. That's what we're going to do. We're going to use ours for necklace ends. If you don't like them all, you know, that's way too long for you, I didn't trim mine down. We're going to use the entire cone for the end of our necklace, but you can come in here and trim them down. So you can like push your finger in there, spread them apart, and then trim off the excess, right? So you can make them as short as you want them to be. And we're actually going to do that with our medium-sized one. But we're going to start with this small. Okay, and we're actually going to be using artistic wire for this. I normally use German style wire for just about everything, but when it comes to the Conetastic, I'm going to use artistic wire just because I feel like it works a lot better. It's less fussy, right? Because it's a dead soft wire, so it really kind of lends itself to creating your cones. So for a small cone, you only need about 18 inches of your artistic wire. I'm going to be using some 20 gauge. You can use whatever gauge you want to, literally any gauge you want to. I will caution that the larger the gauge, kind of the harder it is to do. So just know that like once you get up to like the 14 gauge, it is kind of hard to work with. Not impossible, but it does give you a little bit, you know, a little bit extra fuss. Okay, so the cone itself, each one of them has a hole in it. You want to take the end of your wire and stick it through that hole, and then I like to take my finger and just bend it down and hold on to it. That's really going to kind of help to anchor the wire, okay? So that's going to keep it out of the way so it's not spinning around, it's not hurting me, and it's really a good way to really hold on, because you got to keep your tension on this. Okay, so now I'm just going to start to spin, and I'm actually spinning the tool instead of the wire. Okay, and notice my finger placement. I am pushing with my finger up against the tool, okay, to keep the wire nice and tight. Okay, so I'm staying really, really close to the cone with my index finger and my thumb as I spin the tool. Okay, that is helping to guide that wire so that my wraps are going to meet up right next to each other. Okay, the closer you hold to the wire, the better control you have. All right, so just going to keep spinning. Hi, Mary. I saw Jane come in too. Hey, Jane. Hi, Sue. Robin. All right, so still spinning, right? Right on up to the very tip of the cone. Okay. And that's what I've got. Now you'll notice in here, it wasn't perfect. There's a little gap there. I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with it. Doesn't bother me a bit. Some of you, it's going to drive you absolutely crazy. And I understand that. I get it. I completely get it. If you practice with this, you can get it so that it is absolutely perfect with no gaps, okay? But you're not going to come out of the gate making it look this way. You have to play around with it first. To get a feel for the amount of tension that you have to hold on the wire, how fast or how slow you need to turn it to get it to make a perfect cone. Now, here's the part. Here's the part that's going to stump you. It may not stump you. It may irritate you. It may not irritate you. I don't know. The small mandrel is the only one out of the three that I have been able to ever, and I've been working with this thing for 10 years, okay? This small one is the only one I have ever been able to use to create a perfect cone. So with the medium and the large, you get spaces in between them. That's why I want to show you those, okay? And I at first was really frustrated with that, and I feel like a lot of people are frustrated with that, but I want to show it to you because I want you to see how cool it can be. Okay, so there's your perfect cone. I'm going to show you how to get it off of the tool. So what you want to do is first let's trim off up here, okay, because we don't need that. Now I'm going to come down here at the bottom, and you see the bottom where our wire is going through the hole here. You want to come in with your cutter tool. This is not the best cutter tool to do. Let's see. I like to use my nipper for this just because it has a pointier little edge. But you need to come in there and trim as close as you can get, right? And trim that off, right? And then you're going to just slide it off. Okay, it's a tight space because you are wrapping that wire pretty tight. Okay, but then you can come in and you can kind of clean that up a little bit. So I'll just trim that off, right? And I've got my cone, and you can see all the way through. So we can use this as a connection for other things. I like to take my pliers. I like to take my round nose pliers and I will take that very end wire and I will just kind of tuck it to the inside just a little bit, right? And if I've got several strands of something going inside there, I'll tuck it and then I'll kind of squeeze it up to the edge so that I still have plenty of room and then it's not going to get in the way of whatever I'm going to put into the cone, okay? But it keeps that sharp edge from being out. Up here at the top, I don't worry too much about that edge because normally I put something else up here. There's some wire wrapping, there's a wire guardian, like whatever your connection is going to be. So I don't worry about this one, but this one down here, 9 times out of 10, I will trim it and then tuck it to the inside, okay? So you're going to need 2 of these for our necklace, and I'm not going to trim them down. I want them exactly the same size as they come off of the tool, okay? So we're going to set these to the side and we'll use these in our design in just a little bit, but we're going to make a couple more cones because I want you to see what is possible. So I'm going to take the small mandrel off. I'm going to put the medium sized mandrel on. Okay, and the medium-sized mandrel, let me show you one of our finished earrings. So we're going to make an earring that's the mate to this guy. So the medium cone makes a medium, you know, obviously it's a little bit bigger cone, and then I've gone around it with some black artistic wire just to make it really, really fun and give it some extra dimension, okay? But what I want you to see is the cone part. Can you see how there are some spaces in between the wraps? That's part of the medium and the large cone. And at first it's like, but why? I want a full cone. No, you got to look at it a different way, right? It's all about perspective. You look at it and you're like, okay, that lends to some really cool designs, right? It can be a really cool feature. So I'm going to get another piece of wire here. Looks like I'm running short on wire. I hope I have enough to do the large one too. Get yourself some wire. It takes about 20 inches. Okay. And we're going to do this the same way, but we're not going to get the exact same results. Okay. So this is the medium. Taking the wire, sticking it through. I'm going to push the end down. Okay. And we're going to start the exact same way. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to treat this exactly the same way. I'm going to hold my fingers in the same place. I'm going to rotate it around about the same speed. Okay, and it all looks good for now. But you'll see once we get halfway up, the wires are going to start to make their own spaces in between. And it's just kind of part of what happens. Now you can see, do you see the spaces? And I have fought with this and fought with this and fought with this in the beginning, trying to make it absolutely perfect. It just isn't. It just doesn't. And that's cool because now I can put things inside that you're actually going to be able to see. All right, so I've gone all the way up to the top, right? I'm going to come in with my cutter tool, trim off the top, okay? And now I need to come down here, trim off at the bottom, and slide this off. Now this is the cone. Absolutely nothing wrong with this cone. It's a fun cone. It's fun. There's so many things you can do with this guy, right? But it does have spaces between the wraps. Okay, and I don't want you to think that when you get this tool and you try to make the medium or the large that you're doing it wrong. You're not. I promise. I've done it a million times. This is the way the medium cones look, and this is also the way the large cones are going to look. But I embrace it and I use it. For our project, however, I want to see how short my cone is. I want to trim my cone down. Okay, so I'm not going to use all of this extra business. So this is the cone that I already made. I'm going to come in and I'm just going to come in with my fingers. Okay, my fingernails, slide it in there, and then I'm going to separate out what I don't want, and then I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim this off. Okay, and just like that. Okay, so now look how cute that is, right? I mean, it's adorable and it's super fun, but I like to make it a little more fun. And actually, let me be completely honest with you. The black artistic wire that I added to this was actually an afterthought. So there's two different ways you can go about doing this. If you're going to do it as an afterthought, add the black as an afterthought. This is what I did, okay? I was like, oh, I like that cone, but I want to add some dimension to it. So I got myself some black artistic wire, got myself my cutter tool, cut off some of it, and I was like, all right, how am I going to attach this because I've already taken the cone off of the tool? Well, if you're going to plan in advance, don't take your base cone off of the tool yet. Leave your base cone on, okay? And then wrap your outer wire, your funky monkey fun wire, over the top of it before you actually take it off of the tool. Okay, that's the easiest way to go. And what you would do is you would just slide your artistic wire in, you know, over the wire that's already there and wrap around. But since I can't do that because I've already cut my cone short, and this is actually how it happened when I was creating this necklace, we're going to do it this way just so you can see that it's not all lost if you've already taken your cone off, okay? So I still want to put my extra wire through the hole just so I can hold on to it. Slide your cone up here onto the mandrel and just kind of hold it with your finger, okay? And then when you go to start adding your black wire, wrap it around the base a couple of times, okay? Now, is the tricky part, because you do have to hold it on here while you kind of wrap your black wire just kind of funky monkey all around it, right? And once you've gone around a few times, you can let go. But that was easy, right? The only thing is just kind of getting it to stay stationary for just a second so that you can get in there with the black wire. Okay, now trim all that off. Okay, and now we have to trim off and clean up the black because we don't need all that excess wire. Okay, so I'm going to come in and trim off what I don't need, right? Just my little end. I'm going to tuck it to the inside as well, and then up here I'm going to come in and trim off this because I don't need all of that either, right? And there you go. So now we have really fun. This one has a little bit more black wire than this one does, but I'm not mad at it. They're going to be earrings. They're not going to be right next to each other, so it doesn't make any difference. But I just wanted to show you that you can add extra wire. You can take wire and fill it up with seed beads and wrap that around. You can go around this several times with several different colors. You can really get fun, creative, three-dimensional designs out of the wire just by kind of layering it up and having some, you know, having some fun with it and looking at each cone and saying, okay, they each have their own personality. I'm never going to get two cones that are exactly the same. It's just not going to happen. You can try, but you're never going to get two that are perfectly matching. Okay, so we've made the small, we've made the medium. I'm going to show you how to make the large. I just want to show you what it looks like, and then we're going to move on and create our piece here. Okay, I just wanted to be sure that we spent an adequate amount of time on the cones themselves, because I don't want anybody to be surprised when they get their tool. I want to be completely upfront about what you can expect. Okay, so this is the largest mandrel, and to me this one is a little bit more difficult to work with, but same thing. Okay, put your wire in, bend it down. You're going to start going around, and almost immediately you're going to see the spaces. It's such a deep cone, right? I can get a little bit tighter than that, truthfully. Like I was going a little fast. I can get more wraps in there than that, but if you're just kind of spinning around with it and going fast, that's what you're gonna get, which I've used in a million different designs, by the way. It can be a lot of fun because now you can see all of the beads that are on the inside. So if you were to take like a head pin or an eye pin and go into the center, right, just like you can see my finger, you can see all of the beads that are on the inside, which is a really cool look, right? But you can also treat this the same way that you did with the medium or the small, and you can layer it up, add more fun, right? So let's see. Yeah, Ginger, you were not doing it wrong. You were not doing it wrong. I promise. You're doing it right. That's pretty much what they're going to end up looking like on the large. You can get more wraps than that. I was just speeding through, but for the most part, this is what your large cones are going to look like. Okay. And either you love that or you don't. I really wanted to be able to make them look like this on the large, but I've tried and I just can't. And there may be somebody out there that can, but I have not been successful in it. Okay, so we've gone through all of the cones. Now we're actually going to put our design together. Yes, you can coil with seed beads on the wire, Nicole. You can do all kinds of fun things with it. Totally can add seed beads, which makes it really, really fun. Okay, so I'm just going to put together a quick little stringing project. Okay, we're going to use these really funny agate crackly beads that are definitely yellow. They are not orange, or they are not green. I don't care what anybody says. These beads are not green. These beads are yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need one for an earring, so I'm going to sit that guy to the side. Okay, so I'm just going to lay these out the way I want. Okay, and I'm gonna put some wood beads on either side. Okay, so I'm just laying out my design, and then we're just going to transfer it to some bead stringing wire. And I want these little bead caps to go on each one of the wooden beads, and then I'm also going to put some silver beads in between all of our beads here, and then I want to finish it off with some of these cool black beads and our cones, our small cones, okay, because the medium cones we're going to use for our earrings. So I'll lift you up just a little bit so you can see. All right, that's what the design is going to be, and all we're going to do is just some simple stringing here. So I've got my crimp tubes. I'm going to need 2 of those. Okay, I'm going to need 2 wire guardians. Got those, and a piece of the bead stringing wire. So I'm going to grab some bead stringing wire. Okay, and we're just going to do some straight stringing, and then I'm going to finish this off with some faux suede lace. You can do chain, you can do whatever you want to do, right? You can always bead the entire necklace, but I love the look of the leather, the faux leather with this. So I've thread on my crimp tube. Okay, sorry about the wiggling there. And I'm going to thread on my wire guardian. Okay, I'm going to go back down through the wire guardian and down through the crimp tube. Uh-oh, whoops, I missed the... back through the crimp tube. All right, now I want to separate out those wires because I want to be sure that they're not crisscrossing inside. What happened to the light? I want to be sure that they are not crisscrossing inside that crimp tube or crimp bead, whichever one you're going to be using, okay? You just want to be sure that they are not touching each other on the inside And then we're going to use our crimper tool to come in and further separate those out. So we're going to use the back notch. That's the one that looks like the shape of macaroni, right? Has that little tooth in it. I'm going to place the crimp into that back notch, and then I'm going to squeeze. And when I squeeze, you can actually see how that tooth comes in and actually separates those two wires within the crimp tube. That's exactly what the tool is made to do, right? So it separates those out. Then you want to take the crimp out and put it in the front notch. It's the one that looks like a little oval, little egg. And put your crimp in there sideways and then squeeze it. That's just going to tidy up your crimp, right? And make it a little bit smaller and compact. If you want to put a crimp cover over it, you can. I usually don't because it's just added abrasion, but sometimes every once in a while I get a wild hair and I'll put one over it. But for the most part, I'm like, that's a tiny little crimp bead. You know, less attention the better that gets drawn to it. So once you've crimped properly, you can go ahead and trim off the tail because you don't really need it. Okay, and now we're going to thread on our beads. So I'm going to thread on one of our little silver beads. I'm going to thread on one of our cones. Okay, and I'm going to thread on a small faceted glass bead. This one's like, I think he's a 6 millimeter, and you can see he's going to sit right up against that cone. Okay, just like that. I'm going to thread on this guy. I don't even know what you call these, but it's smooth and matte, but then it has that facet that's shiny. Really like that. Okay, so there are those two. I'm going to put on another, let me dump these out so I can get to them. I'm going to thread on another little silver bead. I love little silver beads as my spacer beads. I just think that they're so pretty. It just adds a little extra sparkle. All right, a bead cap, one of my wooden disc-shaped beads, another bead cap for that guy. Those are going to sit like that. Okay, I'm going to do another for a second disc-shaped bead, and then another one of these. So there will be two, and a silver bead. Okay, I'm going to slide those down. Here's where we're going, right? Okay, and now I'm going to slide on all of the little agate beads, and I'm just going to put a silver bead in between each one of them. So I've got 7 of these. I'm going to thread all 7 on. Oops. And then once we get all of the agate beads on, we're just going to repeat with the wooden beads so that we're even on both sides. I like asymmetrical designs. I'm just not particularly good at them. I try. But when a bead is the star of the show, which I really feel like these agate beads, they really needed to be the star of the show just because they're so different, then I tend to make symmetrical designs with beads that really kind of need their own, you know, they need their own, they need to be the focal, is what I'm trying to say. Words are hard. All right, so we're going to finish off with our wooden beads with the bead caps on either side. Okay. All right, and then our last 2 of the black. And our cone. And then our last little silver bead for the top of our cone. All right, so now we're going to crimp, okay? So this is our design, and we're going to crimp the other end, but here's what, they are real silver actually. A lot of times when you go to buy little silver beads, 9 times out of 10 they will be sterling silver. I guess it's just because they're inexpensive, but most of my little spacer beads are sterling silver. One thing to mention is that your cone, when you have a solid cone like the small cones, they don't move much because there aren't any spaces between the wraps. But with your medium bead, if you're gonna, and I'll show this to you when we put the earring together, but when you go to do your wrapped loop or to crimp or whatever, you've got a little give, and you have to kind of take that into consideration when you're going to make your attachments, because it will give just a little bit. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a minute, but in case you're going to use a larger one on a necklace, I just want you to be sure. So there's our tube. I'm going to thread on our wire guardian. Oops. Hard to see in here. There we go. Too far away from it. Okay, going back down through the wire guardian. Oh, I lost my crimp tube. I'm gonna bring my crimp tube. I cut way too much wire, which is the story of my life, you guys know. Okay, and then I'm gonna pull down, right? I'm gonna pull everything right up next to our beads and our cone. Now, since I have a really small amount of area to work through here, I like to take my bead stringing wire and I'll thread it through a bead or two just so that I can pull from a different location and not right up here next to the crimps in the wire guardian. I just feel like I have a little bit more room if I will go through a bead or two, right? Just feel like I have a better grip on the bead stringing wire, and I can really pull and see that my wire is not going to be crisscrossing inside that crimp tube. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with my crimper tool, put that crimp tube in the back notch, give it a crimp, turn it sideways, put it in the front notch, and give it a squeeze to make sure that I got it nice and tight. And of course you can give it the tug test too, right? Make sure that it's tight. Okay, so now I'm going to come down here and trim this off. Wasn't necessarily for extra security, it was just I felt like I have more room to work with the crimper tool if I pull my bead stringing wire down in another place. Okay, so now I have the ends of my necklace, and all I've done here, you guys, is, and I did this ahead of time, I took 2 pieces of suede lace. They were about 10 inches, and I tied a knot around a jump ring, okay? And then I came up to the other end and put a cord end, which was just a fold over cord end, and jump ring, clasp. Same thing on the other side. These are just connected together with the clasp already. But that's how I'm going to finish off my necklace. I did add a little extension chain and an extra bead on a head pin just for a little added decoration. Plus, it gives this necklace a little bit more adjustability. This guy's going in my Etsy shop, so I wanted to be sure that whoever got it could make the necklace whatever length they wanted to within the lengths of the extension chain. But now I'm just going to open up those jump rings and I'm going to attach them to the wire guardians, and our necklace will be done. But we want to make some cute little earrings to go with this, so we'll do that real quick. But I'm just going to come in with my 2 pairs of pliers, grab that jump ring on either side, and then just use 1 pair of pliers to open that up. I'm going to thread on a wire guardian, and then I'm going to repeat those steps just going in the opposite direction, so just walking it closed. Okay, same thing over here on the other side. And you can see the cone is fun. It's just a little decorative element. I thought it was, you know, just a nice little addition to the necklace because it's cool sometimes, right, to add your wire wrapping with your stringing. There's no rules about that. Nobody says you can't, right? And even though this is not a multi-strand design that needed to cover up any ugly, right? It could be. I very easily could make 2 or 3, you know, extra strands, and all of those strands would end inside the cone and you wouldn't see any of them, right? And so then that way the cone would serve more of a purpose than to just be like, you know, just added kind of decoration to the necklace. But there's our necklace. And now very quickly, we're going to put together an earring to match it. So we're going to do a knotted head pin with some black artistic wire, and we're just going to thread our cone and some of our matching beads on, okay? So we already made the cone. It's ready to go. We've got, yeah, it does give it kind of a primal vibe. So we've got our cone, right? We just need to kind of build the earring. So here are the two beads. Okay, I'm going to take another piece of the black artistic wire. You don't have to use artistic wire. Make your own head pin for this if you don't want to. You certainly can just use a prefab head pin. I just feel like we haven't done a wrapped or a knotted head pin in a while, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to do it. So I've cut myself a short little piece of the black artistic wire, and I'm using 20 gauge, so it's a little bit more substantial than the 22 gauge that we normally use when we make our knotted head pins. But we're going to treat it the same way. So I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. I'm going to grab that wire right at the tip of the wire and also at the tip of the pliers, okay? And I'm going to roll around the tip of the pliers one time all the way around, okay? Then I'm going to go a second time directly underneath the first. Okay, and then I want to stop where I can see that cut in the wire, so I know for sure that I've only gone around 2 times. Now, before I take this off of the tool, I want to bend the wire out away from the tool. So the wire is actually bent and running underneath the 2 coils that we made. Okay, this is where most people get mixed up and they bend the wire the other direction. You want that wire to be running underneath those 2 coils that you made. Okay, so now you're going to take it off of the tool. We're going to take the tail end of that wire. We're going to bend it back towards the coils and stick it through. Okay, now I have this funny little lasso shape. Okay, and we're going to come in with our nylon jaw pliers and grab the wire right next to those 2 coils. Okay, don't let there be any extra space there. Grab right next to it, and then you want to take another pair of pliers and you want to pull to create your knot. Now remember, this is 20 gauge wire, so it's a little bit thicker than what we normally make our knots with, so it's going to make a big bulky kind of knot. But you're still going to pull and you're still going to get that really cool rosette shape at the bottom. Okay, and then when you take it off of the tool, you've got yourself a decorative little head pin. Okay, so now we're going to thread on our agate bead. We're going to thread on one of our little black faceted beads, and then we're going to thread on our cone. Okay, and now remember when I said it has a little bit of give? It does. It's kind of springy, right? You can see it's a little bit springy. So take that into consideration when you go to do your wrapped loop, which is what we're going to do. You can do a regular loop if you want to, but I like the wrapped loop on top of this just because it brings that black a little bit more up to the top. So I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers. Whoops. I'm going to grab that wire where it's exiting our cone, give it a bend. Okay, and you can see how it kind of springs back on you. Come in with the round nose pliers so the wire is running between the barrel of the pliers. We're going to go up and over top barrel, and then we're going to roll the pliers out of the way so we can go ahead and take that wire over to the other side. Okay, and now we're going to wire wrap, and I'm going to kind of double mine up and make it a little chunky monkey. So I wire wrapped, and then I'm just going to wire wrap over the wraps that I already made, right? And then I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim that off. There's kind of a mess back here, but that's all right. Okay, so there we have our wrapped loop at the top, and we're ready to just add our ear wire, and we've got an earring ready to go. Now that was kind of fast, but it's because we'd already made our cone, right? So if we hadn't made our cone ahead of time, it would have taken us a little bit longer, but we were fast with our cones. So I'm going to open up our ear wire, and I'm going to attach that to our loop and close that back, and the earrings that match our necklace are complete. And it still has that cone, right? So we've brought the cone design into our matching earrings, right, from the necklace. We just brought them into up to our ears, but we did change them up a little bit and add a little bit more of the black, and I felt like the black added kind of brought out the veins in the agate. So to me it really worked. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I know some of you out there are going to absolutely hate this agate color bead because it is such a strange color, but I just remind you, you can use these, you know, you can recreate this with whatever you've got at home, right? If you've got these beads, then totally go for it. But otherwise, you can use your own beads and kind of play around with your cones and make everything kind of match the way you want it to match. All right, so I'm going to turn you guys around. I will try on the earrings, and I'll put this necklace on a bust so you can see what it looks like hanging. Okay, so I'm going to turn you guys around. And let's put this guy so you can see the necklace, right? And I feel like the black leather really kind of, you know, it just kind of tied the whole thing together, because if you had done chain up here, it would have been fine, but the chain really would have kind of disappeared, right? And then, I don't know, I just felt like the black needed to be up in the length as well. So, but you do you, right? You do whatever works for you. I'm always a fan of the leather like up against my neck. So there's that, and then I'll try on the earrings to go with it so that you guys can kind of get an idea of what these look like when they're on. Yes, the agate comes in a lot of different colors. And guys, I have people ask me all of the time, see how fun those are? And those are not hard earrings, right? And we just stack some things together. You don't have to make things super hard. But I have people ask me quite a bit about different kinds of stones, different bead shapes, and those kinds of things. And they ask, you know, would you make a Facebook Live about stones and how to recognize stones? Would you make a Facebook Live about beads, bead shapes, and how to recognize different bead shapes? I've not done that because part of me feels like it would be kind of like just a talking, because there's not really much of a project to those kinds of things. But if there are enough people that are interested in something like that, I would be more than happy to do that for you guys. But keep in mind, it would be more of like a show and tell than it would be an actual like project. One of the other things that I've gotten asked about is gosh, it just totally slipped my mind. Oh, chain, and how to buy chain and how to measure chain. You know, how to measure the lengths and like how to read when you go to a website, like how to determine what kind of chain you're going to be getting back. I feel like those are questions that people ask a lot of. So, you know, let me know if those are things that you guys are interested in seeing in Facebook Lives. Let me know. Otherwise, I will just try to put together some cohesive information for you guys so that you will have those things as references. But yeah, those are questions that I get asked quite frequently. So let me know how you feel about that. Let me know how you feel about that being like a Facebook Live, you know, because it really wouldn't necessarily be a project. But yeah. All right, so I'm going to show you guys the necklace one more time so you can see the beautiful necklace and you can see the earrings that go with them. And hopefully I've inspired you to use the Conetastic, you know, and try it out. I know there are some of you that have got a Conetastic in the drawer and you haven't taken it out, you haven't used it. I encourage you to give it a try and play with it, because it's really one of those things that, like, once you get the hang of it, and I know I say this about a lot of things, but once you get the hang of it, then the light bulb kind of goes off and you're like, ooh, I could do this or I could do that, you know? So there's all kinds of things you can do with it that are fun. I particularly love layering up the wire just to give it dimension. I think that's fun, but it also looks great, nice and clean as well. So have fun with that, you guys. I hope I've inspired you today. All right, you guys, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the afternoon. So before I go, just want to let everybody know that tomorrow I have a virtual class on Michaels at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're doing a bracelet on the original jewel loom. We're doing a beaded bracelet with a picot edge. So if you're interested in coming, at least just to come and say hey and hang out for a little bit, if you're not necessarily interested in the project. I know not everybody likes to do seed bead stuff, but I encourage you to come and hang out with us. If you have trouble getting a spot in the class, just keep trying, because it's not full. I know the website sometimes says that the class is full, but I promise it's not. There's enough room for 2,000 people, so I know good and well that I don't have 2,000 people watching, but I'd like to, but I don't. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and I will see some of you tomorrow. If not, I'll be here on Thursday with another great project for you guys. Have a great afternoon. Bye.